The Jacksonville Jaguars pulled off one of the biggest moves last night during the 2025 NFL Draft by trading up with the Cleveland Browns for Travis Hunter. We're going to talk about the biggest winners and the biggest losers coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an offensive draft analyst with Bleacher Report. And guys, as always, thank you so much for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our every dayers. We have a fun one, guys, breaking down, recapping, and labeling the biggest winners, the biggest losers from night one of the 2025 NFL Draft, and also kind of previewing what to watch out for on night two. But before that, guys, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Terms and conditions apply. Man, the Jacksonville Jaguars, were they a winner coming off of night one, right? They made the bold move. They put out all the stuff about them staying at 5, taking Ashton Genty, and instead they went up and got the guy who knocked them off for the Heisman. They traded up with the Cleveland Browns. I believe they sent an extra second. They sent a 2026 first-round pick to go up and get Travis Hunter. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I like it. I like it for the Jacksonville Jaguars because he fills two needs. Like, yes, you got Gabe Davis and things of that nature, but for me, and I kind of view it like that, it's exciting to think about him on the field at the same time as Brian Thomas Jr., right? Where Brian Thomas, we saw him over 1,000 yards, over I think 1,100 yards, almost 1,200 yards, or whatever it was as a rookie, bringing big explosive plays down the field. And then going and getting a Travis Hunter. And if you pair those two together, Travis being more of the short to intermediate yak threat out of the two, who also can get vertical, also has a strong catch radius and the ability, to make plays above the rim. Yeah, I love that for the Jacksonville Jaguars. When I was kind of working on some stuff, getting ready for my trip, to New York City later today, later this afternoon, heading to New York City to help co-host the Bleacher Report show. So I'm getting ready for that. And man, when I saw this come across the screen, it came across my phone, and I was like, what is going on? So Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar. He can play corner if they really need him to. Like I said, the Browns was the spot, but if the Browns selected him, we knew he was outright. We knew he was playing wide receiver. Going to Jacksonville, he's probably playing corner. And if that's the case, I'm not mad at that at all. So I think that they actually came out of this situation and somewhat winners in this. I appreciate what they did. They wanted to go get themselves a blue chip player, whether you view him as a receiver or whether they view him as a corner. The main thing is simple. They view him as a blue chip player. And for me, that's why I was never subscribing to like the Giants trading out of 3 instead of taking Abdul Carter. Take the blue chip guy and go and thrive with that, man. But let's flip this to the opposite side of that trade. So, for example, just to close out the Jacksonville side, they don't have a second-round pick because they traded that off to the Cleveland Browns, but they do have 2/3, 2/4, and a 5th. Like, they still have 3 picks inside the top 100, and then they have 2 picks inside the top 110, 104, 107. They should be fine. Especially in this class and where, the rounds 2 through 4 are kind of the meat and potatoes of this draft anyway. They should be fine. But for the Cleveland Browns to trade down, right? For the Cleveland Browns to trade down and get Mason Graham, the number 1 IDL, as well as tacking on an extra, I believe, extra third. Yes, they got extra second. I'm sorry. They had an extra second round pick from Jacksonville. So they have picks 33, pick 36, pick 67, pick 94. On day 2, tonight, they have 4 draft picks in the top 100. They did a great job moving back, and then you get Mason Graham. I absolutely love that fit. They got Michael Hall, who all my everydayers from last year's draft. You knew how much how much I love Michael Hall. Keith was okay on him, but I love Michael Hall. And for him, he being the pass rusher, 3-tech out of those two, and you take a Mason Graham that's going to stop the run. It's going to be physical at the point of attack, things of that nature. Pairing those guys with, and that's going to take some pressure. I truly believe when they're firing off on all cylinders, it's going to take some of that pressure off Myles Garrett, off the edge, man. I think this was a great trade back, great pick and fit, but also getting that extra capital. Again, they got an extra second to pick 36 from the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they also received that first round pick next year as well. I believe they got another pick later on in the draft as well. But great job. Another team I think that won. Shout out to both the Chicago Bears and the Indianapolis Colts. And here's why. You both got the tight end that you wanted. It was widely known that the Colts were looking at tight end at 14. And the Colts were kind of split, but from what I heard, that they were a little bit higher on Tyler Warren and what he brings to the offense compared to help Anthony Richardson and the quarterbacks. And the Bears saying, okay, if Ashton Jeanty is gone, we're looking at adding another weapon. And I kept telling her it's not going to be tackle. I never believed it was going to be tackle. Yes, Will Campbell, Mimbu, and Banks came off before their picks, but I never believed it was going to be tackle. I believe it was going to be a playmaker. And Ben Johnson, in his first draft there, gets a playmaker in Colston Loveland. So now the top two tight ends are off the board inside the top 14 picks. So both of those teams, winners. They got their guy. They got the same position, but they got the guy that they coveted most. So shout out to them. Let me see what other. Oh, man, the Arizona Cardinals, baby. The Arizona Cardinals, this back-to-back of 15 and 16. The Falcons getting Jalen Walker. You know what I'm saying? And I was talking to some of my guys last night, and I said, if I am Raheem Morris, head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, every time we play the Carolina Panthers, while Jalen Walker and the players are stretching, in the lines and they're stretching on the field, I'm just gonna walk by, tap them on the shoulder. Hey, fella, they pass on you at 8, and I'm just gonna walk off. Right, dramatic walk off. Boom. I'm going to talk to somebody else. I'm not even let him respond. I'm not letting him respond. Walk back by. Maybe 10, 15 minutes later. Hey, big dog, they pass on you at 8. Walk off again. Like, I'm gonna do that because we know that defense for Carolina was terrible last year. I don't they couldn't get after the pass. They couldn't stop the run. They've improved the run defense this offseason, but still. You know what I mean? So for Atlanta to stand pat, stick and pick, and get Jalen Walker at 15 out of your backyard, that's a home run situation for them, and they needed it, right? Then at 16, Walter Nolan. Listen, the Arizona Cardinals getting Walter Nolan. You talk about disruption. You talk about getting into the face of the court. I love this. I absolutely love this for this team, man. I do, because now you talk about having a defensive line. You got Josh Sweat. You get BJ Ojolari back. They have I'm blanking on the guy's name right now. Baron Browning, who they brought back. They brought him back. They brought back Calais Campbell. They brought him home, right? And PFF had him as like the 6th highest graded interior defensive lineman last year. But they also still have I believe it was Devin Tomlinson, the big defensive tackle that they brought in, and they have Darius Robinson from last year. So Darius Robinson gets to learn. Those two guys get to learn from Calais Campbell, man. Like this on third downs, yeah. Like quarterbacks get prepared for what you have to deal with, man. And I'm gonna go, just again, the double down. The Atlanta Falcons, and you guys, all my everydayers know, I've told Keith on this pod, if Terry Fontenot does not address the defensive line and address the edge rush, we gonna have a problem. I'm gonna say, hey, it's time to take Old Yeller out back. All right, it's time to let Old Yeller go. But he says, you know what, DP, I heard you, and I'm a double down. So he goes, trades back up with the Los Angeles Rams. They trade the first round pick for next year, helping them be able to secure a quarterback next year, in my honest opinion. He drafts at 26 James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher out of Tennessee. So not only do you get a Jalen Walker, you bring in James Pierce Jr. Listen, they knew what Bryce Young did to them. They knew what Bryce Young did to them at the end of the season. They said that will never happen again. So shout out to the Carolina Panthers getting Bryce another weapon. But those are my just like early. We'll have another show on Monday talking about more stuff, but just my early reaction to round one, guys. But coming up next, we'll talk about some of the biggest losers from night one and some of the picks I didn't really understand. That and more coming up next. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. Add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high quality hires. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Biggest losers from night one of the 2025 NFL draft, and some of the picks that just did not really make sense to me, man. And I got to start at 17, right? Don't hate me, Who Dey Nation. Don't get mad at your boy DP. But hear what I'm got to say here. At 17, you take Shemar Stewart, who I like. I like I think me and Keith talked about him about a week or two ago, whether or not he was a top 20 player. I think we both have him in like top 25. You got the contract situation waning and wearing, when you deal with Trey Hendrickson, guy who had 17.5 sacks, where I believe he had more sacks in one game than Shemar Stewart has had in his career. And taking Shemar Stewart at 17. If you don't trade, right? If you don't trade Trey Hendrickson, you already have Myles Murphy, who you were playing behind Sam Hubbard. Like, you need to figure out what you have in that guy who was a first round pick, 2.5, 3 years ago, right? 2 to 3 drafts ago. I think it's 2. I think it's been 2 drafts ago, 2 or 3. So you have to figure out what you have in him, and then you still have to figure out the Trey Hendrickson contract situation. What to me with Gray Zabel sitting on the board, who went off the board at the very next pick to the Seattle Seahawks, right? And this could be a situation of, man, we thought Tyler Booker was going to be there, but he went to the Dallas Cowboys, right? Cool, that's fine. But Gray Zabel was still available. Donovan Jackson, who went at pick 24 to the Minnesota Vikings, he was available. To me, Stewart is... You got to protect Joe Burrow. You just spent a lot of money to give him what he asked for and give him his 2 wide receivers back in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. You know how you don't. So remember the little picture, the little not cartoon, but like almost stick figure memes when that draft happened. It was Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell, and it was the throw, like you got the blocker Penei Sewell. And you got, so your quarterback has time, or you have the star wide receiver, but the O-line isn't great, right? That's this situation again, in my opinion. The O-line is not great. The interior O-line is not a strong suit for this team. So if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, and don't get me wrong, you can double up, you can go interior offensive line and get a Tate Ratledge, or something like that. But at the same time, when I'm looking at it from that aspect, my alarm. When I'm looking at it from that aspect, guys, I just don't understand the thought process. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't understand the thought process because yes, you got Tate Ratledge, you got Marcus Bowe. I'm sorry, but to mess it up, Marcus Bowe. You do have Miles Frazier, who's from LSU. So don't get me wrong. There's possibilities, but will they finally prioritize that interior offensive line correctly? And just for me, this is a high ceiling pick. It's a very big projection. And I just don't know if I would have went Gray Zabel here, especially in this edge class. Like in this edge class, I would have went Gray Zabel. I'm sorry. I would have went Gray Zabel because you still got Mike Green who fell out of round 1, Donovan Azaroku who fell out of round 1, Nick Scourton, we know JT Tuimoloau wasn't going in round 1, but nonetheless, Braden Swinson, Princely Human Milan, there's still quality edge rushers on the board, right? Still Landon Jackson, they're still quality guys. But I would have went with the sure thing at that guard spot. We saw Gray Zabel would absolutely dominate at the competition at the Senior Bowl as a smaller school guy coming North Dakota State. I didn't like it. I want to protect Joe Burrow. I want to make sure my quarterback is upright and feeling good. I don't like it. Another pick, man. Oh, man, this is Keith's guy, Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky, going to the Buffalo Bills. I like Maxwell Hairston. I don't know about the tackling, the handling, strong body wide receivers, right? Can cover, ball skills, all that. He's small though, elite athlete. And Sean McDermott, they typically have a type, for bigger, stronger corners. And the fact that Will Johnson fell out of round 1, that knee issue has to be a thing. And Trey Amos fell out of round 1. To take a smaller guy, yes, he's a great athlete, but he doesn't give you the I'm gonna recheck his length and wingspan here. I don't see. Yeah, he's got 31-inch arms. He's 5'11" with 31s. Again, explosive, elite athlete. But still, he's 5'11", 183. And again, I like Maxwell Hairston. I don't think I like it with the other bigger corners on the board. Guys that are to me, that are better cover guys. Like Trey Amos is a better man-to-man cover corner. Trey Amos is a better zone corner. Trey Amos instincts down the field, not the squatting, sitting, and driving, but the side saddle bail, pass off, rotate back, all that, make plays at the catch point. He's willing to tackle in open field. And thinking about the fact that you got to deal with Mike Vrabel, who is going to run the ball in New England. Mike McDaniels, them at times will, may not be the fourth quarter, but they're going to run the ball with speed and everything else in Miami, right? And the Jets with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, they're going to run the ball. They're probably going to run at Maxwell Hairston. Let's be honest. But also, if you got a big physical wide receiver, you absolutely feel comfortable getting the ball to that big physical. Now, Miami doesn't have that, right? The Patriots have some guys that have strength, the Kayshon Bouttes, the Javon Bakers, Jalen Polks, things of that nature. And the Jets have Garrett Wilson, they have Alan Lazard, so forth and so on. That's a pick I wasn't too fond of. At 9, I'm not Kelvin Banks Jr., shout out to him going top 10 to the New Orleans Saints. Saints say, hey, smoke screen, we're not taking the quarterback. Gotcha, right? But the fact that they went Kelvin Banks, that's just, I don't know. I wasn't that high on Banks. I think he's got a good ceiling, right? But I kind of feel him better as a guard. I'll be completely honest. The jump sets and quick sets is a little too much for me at times. He kind of relies on that. And and I also look at it just from the aspect of, man, I can see power, right? I watched Jalen Walker and Michael Williams overpower him at times off the edge. And those were college players. Like you think of, in your own division, you get guys off the edge that can get after the quarterback. Atlanta just drafted 2. Tampa Bay has some guys that they can rotate in there. I expect them to draft somebody on day 2. I think the Panthers better. If they don't, good luck. Good luck and good night. But yeah, I just, I don't know, man. Now, at 9, that was a little too rich for me. A little too rich and a little too high for my blood. But guys, coming up next, we're going to talk about previewing, right? The action, the players are still available on night 2. We'll talk about that coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into same-game parlays for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Previewing night 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Thank you so much for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Time for being our everydayers. Guys, we have Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe. The quarterbacks are still on the board. And we had at the top of the draft, the first, 5 to 10 picks, we got the Cleveland Browns, the Houston Texans, who traded out. You got the Tennessee Titans, the Browns again from that Jacksonville trade. You have the Las Vegas Raiders, the New England Patriots, the Chicago Bears via that trade with Carolina for Bryce Young, the Saints with the 8th pick in the second round, the Bears again with their original pick at 41, and then the New York Jets with the 10th pick in round 2. Guys, when I look at this situation, you think about the players that are still available on the board. You feel good about them. Again, Will Johnson, the corner, Mike Green, the edge rusher, Luther Burton, the third, Nick Emanwori, the safety, the explosive safety out of South Carolina, Nick Scourton, Mason Taylor being on the board as well. Yeah, it's hard to not feel good about round 2 in a lot of different ways, right? Like if you're a team that has had multiple needs, yeah, like, if you're Carolina, you're at like 57, right? With that pick with the Rams, that trade with the Rams or whatever. Yeah, I think they have the Rams. Yeah, they have 57, right? Which is close to the back end of round 2. Yeah, like that. You need an edge rusher. They might be off the board. Like the top guys are probably gone by the time they get to you, and you look at the teams that could absolutely go edge and bolster their pass rush. Colts need edge and everything as well. Bears need edge. Dallas could use another edge. We know that, just multiple teams that could go that direction. And Buccaneers in your division, right? The Ravens are after them. Sorry, the Ravens are after them, so they're fine with the Ravens. Bills can use another edge. The Chargers need another edge. Packers need another edge. Yeah, so like for a team like Carolina, it might be, Travion Henderson still on the board, right? A lot of people were mocking him in round 1. You talk about, I just didn't see it as a true RB1. I was like, I'm not drafting him in round 1 to be my RB1. He couldn't stay healthy when he was thrusted into that role in college. Like I don't think you're going to be able to handle it in the NFL level. But now getting him on day 2, being able to add his speed and explosiveness, playmaking out of the backfield, receiving ability on day 2. Yeah, I think it's a great fit. Trey Amos, Landon Jackson, Carson Swessinger, who I expect to hear his name called early tonight. Demetrius Knight Jr., the linebacker from South Carolina. There's a lot of highly rated, highly touted players still on the board. Siobhan Revel, Benjamin Morrison, Jaden Higgins. I think when you look at this, when you look at round 2, I think, or day 2, night 2, rather, I think it's going to be a little bit of, it's going to be interesting because what I'm looking forward to is seeing, will there be a run on edges for the edges that are available? Because I think me and Keith talked about this. Once you get past a certain point, then it gets dicey and you're like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like you don't know how you feel about the talent at edge in terms of if you need a day 1 impact player. And for teams that may have that question, scouts that have that question after a certain point in this edge rush group, You might be drafting more of a backup, rotational guy that has the ability to develop. That's how I view JTT Maloa. His time at Ohio State, I didn't see a guy that actually developed as a pass rusher. It was a lot of first steps, explosiveness, speed to power, things of that nature. His name was kind of made off of that sack he got off of Olu Fashanu, in Penn State. And the year before in 2022, he had that big game against Penn State. I think it was 3-4 sacks, like a forced fumble and a pick six or something crazy. Like, he had a great game, but he's never been consistent to me. And so yeah, I look at the edge rush group. And I want to see, guys, watch out for where the receivers land too, right? Let me go to the receiver position here. There's a lot of receivers still on the board. Like, there's still some good talent. Again, Luther Burton III being on the board, right? Jack Besh, Jaden Higgins, who a lot of people are higher on than I am. Still like him. I have him more of a third round grade, like mid third round. Jalen Royals still available. My guy out of Utah State. Trey Harris, my guy out of Ole Miss. The best man-to-man, receiver via the numbers and the data in the 2025 NFL draft. My guy Jalen Noel, man. Listen, him still being available, right? Kyle Williams, like there's still good talent on night 2 of the draft, rounds 2 and 3. That I want to see. Will there be a run? And if there's a run, when does it start? And who starts? I think it's clear it's going to be a Luther Burton. I'm sorry, I was looking at Mecca Boogie's name. It's going to be a Luther Burton III who starts that run. But then who captures the fire? Who captures the flame? Which team says, you know what? We cannot wait any longer. We need to get our guy. I'm looking forward to that, man, because I think Tennessee with pick 35, the third pick in the second round, I'm sorry, behind Houston, behind Cleveland. I think that's the spot for Luther Burton. The Browns needing another wide receiver, they could, definitely look to add some speed and route running, like a Kyle Williams or Jalen Royals, guys, someone like that. The Raiders, man, the Raiders could say, you know what, let's double down with a receiver at 37. Why not, right? Why not? So I just look at it from that aspect. The Saints at 8, we're gonna see if Shedeur slides, right? Shedeur and Jalen Miller are both on the board. And I just wonder, how long before the slide stops? How long before the slide stops of a Shedeur Sanders? The Giants trading up for Jackson Dart. I didn't even touch that. I didn't want to be negative. I did not touch that. Very interesting pick. Very interesting pick. To trade back up in the round 1 and get him. I really don't believe they had to. I mean, maybe Rams. I think it would have been a bad decision for the Rams because you're not really helping yourself get ready to try and compete this year by taking a quarterback in round 1. Didn't really make sense. But Dallas at 44 is another team that needs another pass catcher, another receiver. So, yeah, man, I think you look at that situation. I could see the Cardinals going speed as well in round 2. The Seahawks, interesting situation for me. I did a stream over at Bleacher Report about the top wide receiver landing spots, and Trey Harris to the Seattle Seahawks made perfect sense to me. I'm not saying you go Ole Miss to Ole Miss connection because of DK Metcalf, but because he's not DK. He doesn't have that speed, but he does win the vertical plane with his stem work, things of that nature. It's more so the ability to make contested catches, adjust to the football, back shoulder fades, but he's a good route runner for the routes that they ask him to run. I feel like he is super underrated and slept on in this class. I know he didn't finish the year because of an injury. And everybody, it's crazy. Jackson Dart gets round 1 love coming out of that offense that's QB friendly, and then people hold the Ole Miss offense against Trey Harris. Doesn't really make sense to me, guys. But nonetheless, man, again, previewing night 2, pay attention. Edges, receivers, and corner are the 3 positions I'm looking to see when the run starts, who starts it, who picks up the flame and keeps it going, who passes the baton like the Olympic 4x4 and 4x1 and all that, who passes the baton to the next team and say, hey, it's up to you. You want to keep this run going? We got our guy. But guys, thank you so much. As always, man, go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to the podcast, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Guys, thank you so much for tapping in with us and making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Sorry for being our everydayers. I will be back to recap night 2 and what has happened after tonight's action is all over and done with. But come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.